Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Behind Enemy Lines, the Montreal Canadiens hockey podcast. Um, Today, I'm here as usual with my good friend and partner, Steve. So, welcome to the episode, Steve. And I believe
Thanks
you
for
have some breaking news.
thanks for having us back again for all those listening at home. And Sheldon, again, it's always a pleasure. Yes, breaking news. If you are living in a shell in the GTA, it would probably be page 89 in the Toronto Sun if you're still on a paper subscriber. But the Montreal Canadiens have locked up Lane Hudson today. Terms are basic 8 years, 8.85 million. So another one of the young guns on that typical 8 year deal.
Excellent. And a team-friendly contract and one obviously that the player was happy with as well.
Yeah, there was speculation in the last couple of days that this could have went north of 10, based on other players signing for more money. There was again speculation based on not a deal being done that the dad got involved, but clearly the player wanted to be here. It wasn't solely about the money. Dobson got more money. That doesn't mean anything. He signed the same contract, joining the core. I think that's six or seven of them locked up in the 8 year range. So good news for Montreal Canadiens fans.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't want to dive too deep into this right now, but like it is definitely a player friendly, sorry, a team friendly contract, and I think it shows a commitment to win, and it stays in line because I mean I've heard you say it too. No, he could definitely have got into the 10-11 million dollar range contract if he really demanded it.
If he held out and wanted to take this, we still would have had negotiation rights because of his age and he wouldn't have been unrestricted. But you don't want to send the player and the team down that rabbit hole of being a malcontent and make a room divided. He towed the same line. It's a hometown discount per se, even though he's an American kid, but he's bought in with the Suzukis and the Caulfields and Slavkovskis and Dobson and Gooley, and he signed for term. And it's a good deal for us all around. So
Absolutely. Good news, good news,
congrats,
good news.
congrats, Lane, and congrats, Habs Nation. This is a good one.
Yeah. Okay, and on that note, we'll dive right into our trivia that we normally start out with, and you're going to take away with that, Steve.
Well, again, we'll sort of try and keep this relevant. This is post game against Chicago, a 3-2 win. Zach Bolduc, or we might have to refer to him as Zach Golduc at this rate, joining Goal Caulfield, um, scored for the third consecutive road game. So tonight's trivia question is what Montreal Canadiens player, and there are two, have the record for goals, get consecutive games, goal scoring to start a season on the road?
Okay, good question. Look forward to that at the end of the episode. You always have nice little surprises and curveballs in store for us when it comes to the answer, so I'm highly anticipating that one as well. Um, Today's topic, we're going to go into a breakdown of real quickly. We're going to go into a breakdown before we get into today's topic. Sorry, of Montreal Chicago game. I think some of the things I think you and I both wanted to talk about is the lineups, who played with who, uh, who impressed you the most, who and maybe who didn't impress, who's somebody that kind of lacked and maybe needs a little bit of a tune-up.
Yeah, I mean it was a Saturday night game, another home opener that we had to be part of on the road in Chicago. We come away with a 3-2 win. So yeah, we can throw up all the confetti and the banners and plan the parade, much to the dismay of the blue and
We're
white
we're not
guys.
we're not Toronto fans. We don't do that in Montreal.
Yeah, we don't do that yet. Okay, my bad. Sorry. Um, 3-2 win. You should be excited. And don't get me wrong, 2 points on the road is better than no points on the road.
Mm.
But was it an ideal game at 3-2? Some would say, hey, we escaped, we got lucky, no, I don't think we got lucky. It was full value. I thought we were the better team. You know,
Yeah,
uh, the
it was def
downfall was we had 10 power plays and we only had two goals to score for that. So
Mhm.
we'll get into a little bit of that, but we had Bolduc again scoring. We've talked about this in the past. Defenseman Gooley chipped in with a goal, so another offensive stat from the back end. Caulfield with the other one. That's the three. Gooley's was 15 seconds left in the game to steal one, and our captain Slick Nick chipped in with 3 assists. So overall, a good effort from the guys we want it from. So 3-2 win, and yeah, it's again, it's a result we want.
Yeah. So as far as the lineup goes, who played with who? Um, Quick review. We had our first line, as always, Caulfield, Suzuki, and Slavkovsky. Uh, then where things sort of changed up a little bit as the game went on. Initially, they had Bolduc and Gallagher with Doc in the center, and then they had Newhook and Demidov with Kapanen in the center for that line. But I noticed at some points during the game, they moved around a little bit and they basically switched Bolduc and Newhook, and you had Bolduc and Deminoff being centered by Kapanen. I think both variations of those lines worked very well, but I was definitely more impressed when they moved Bolduc up to play with Kapanen and Deminoff. I seen a lot of chemistry, a lot of working together. Bolduc's size and toughness, I think, really became aware. He was a battler, and that's what they need. When you have two players highly as skilled as they are, sometimes you need that guy that's going to take one for the team and go get the puck. So I think that worked well. That's what impressed me. Um, who didn't impress me? I don't know that there was really anything that didn't impress me individually. As a team, I wasn't really too impressed with the power play, which, as you said, we'll get into that a little more. But overall, I think it was a pretty good game. It was a hard fought win. I don't think we lucked out. The fact that they scored with 15 seconds left, I don't think, makes it lucky. I just think we
Well,
played the full
you
60
create your own
minutes.
luck. Yeah, you
Yeah,
create
we
your
played
own
the
luck.
full
Like I
60.
say. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't take any time off, whistle to whistle, and we earned the 3 goals. That's for
Mhm.
sure. Players that impress me again, Bolduc. The kid just seems to he's found a groove. He was a part-time player year one in St. Louis, played a full season last year. Again, let's not dive too deep into this. It was a good hockey trade for both franchises. St. Louis got a defenseman, young defenseman that they needed. We got a
Mhm.
young forward. Early indications are is that we win the deal. I don't know that we stole it. We won it. So good to see him. Gooley again chipping in. I'd like to see the defenseman be offensive minded. It shows our depth and strength that we don't have to rely on 6 or 9 forwards up front. So that was impressive. Suzuki 3 assists, hasn't scored yet, but captain doing captain things and doing whatever it takes, whether it's winning faceoffs, he chips in on a score sheet. Again, hard not to find that as something that impresses, but I guess the more he does it, the more you begin to expect it. Sort of like a guy that wears 97 out in the west side of our country. You just get used to certain things on the score sheet.
Mhm.
Um, a couple other players that impress me, not leaps and bounds, but just still overall effort. Brendan Gallagher. I know he's aged. I know he's
Mhm.
probably held together with duct tape. Red Green would appreciate that. But he just seems to want to throw his body into everything up and down the ice. Doesn't matter. So, Gally being the Energizer bunny that he is, he still goes, and it's still good to see late in his career. Noah Dobson, another player that we brought on. Upwards of 23 or 24 minutes. So he's settling into the ice time and the minute muncher that he needs to be, which is great with 3D men play over 20 minutes, which is stunning. The downfall to that is Arbor Jacki plays 7 minutes. So, where you give to one or two or three, it comes off the back of somebody else. And Monty was impressive. I found he fought the puck against Toronto, didn't play with the same confidence as normal, but in a game that was chippy and started to get out of control, he gave us every chance to win and made the saves when he needed us to.
Yeah, so a couple notes. Um, Again, you were talking about minutes and time and things like that. I think I agree. Jack I did suffer in the minute department, but I don't think that was his fault. I think that was partly the fault because we had so many power plays.
Yeah,
He's not on the power play unit. And when you get 10 power plays, that's 20 minutes of ice time. You're automatically sitting and you're not even
that's
get a sniff of the ice.
even from Newfoundland. That's one full period, 20
Yeah,
minutes.
exactly. Yeah.
So, that we're not ice sports periods, we're real-time periods for the big boys, and that's
Yeah.
one period he didn't get a chance to
Yeah.
to to go for a lap.
Yeah. So again, with the power play, or sorry, with the lineups, like again, I don't see any real issues. One thing I am impressed with, and that I do like, is I like the fact, again, haven't had it for a long time. We have that ability now to interchange players as needed, whether it be based on which team you're facing from night to night, or maybe from period to period, line to line. Maybe the coaches see things that, hey, this is developing here. If we move Bolduc up, if we move wherever, we've got that option. But I think people are starting to see now, especially for all those that were big, uh, or sorry, not big, not happy about the trade to get him, because of what we gave up. I think you're starting to see his worth now and are probably glad we made that trade.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be impressed and you want to think he's 3 goals free in 3 games that he's going to get 80. I mean, yeah, heck yeah, let's think of that. But reality is going to come crashing down at some point, and the kid's going to not score in a game or two or three in a row. But does he contribute in other ways? So, I mean, I like the line combinations. You touch base on it. We have the flexibility. I love that we can interchange. That's what didn't impress me though. We'll talk about lines, combinations, and opportunities. Marty St. Louis was a big X on the board for me on Saturday night. We had 10 power plays. And they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, it was freaking broken. You
Mm,
know, we were running out of ladle trying to get soup out of the pan. Like
mm,
there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's broken.
mm,
That power play, it's got lots of talent. Did we not change the parts around? And if we're going to play all those players, I think Suzuki was over 20 minutes. Caulfield was knocking on the door 20 minutes. Are we engaging our fourth line when our fourth line can be there? Because this is when you're going to start to get the malcontents, and it's not Jake Evans' fault. It's not Patrick Laine's fault, not Josh Anderson's fault. But at some point, we need to be cognizant of who's on the ice when they're not on the ice and when we need to give certain guys a break. So that fourth line doesn't do a whole bunch of the power play stuff. We got to get them out for regular shifts, and I don't think Marty did enough of that on Saturday.
yeah.
We weren't under any pressure, so I don't think it's a matter of line A defensively not sound. I just think we have to keep guys engaged because if we do suffer an injury, we have a roster that can get us there. We have the depth to move a guy up. But if the guy's coming in cold, that's it's not helping the cause.
Mhm.
So, you know, I would like to see Marty tinker a little bit more, and we'll dive into that because it's a special teams thing more so than anything else right now. So, not too much on the you didn't do for me today, or what have you done for me lately? Um, you know, but there's gonna be small things when you lose a hockey game.
Yeah. So on that note, let's dive right into today's main subject is special teams. Um, whether it be the power play or penalty kill, whichever angle you want to tackle, whichever you think you're happy, not happy with. But I'll just go over here real quick. Power play line one basically is Suzuki, Bolduc, Sevklovsky, Caulfield, and Hudson. As we know, Hudson's back on the point, running the show there, and Caulfield, I think, is our
Our
winger
trigger man, yeah.
shifted over the trigger man. Sevklovsky's in front of the net. Bolduc, Suzuki basically running the show from the sides. Um, Power play number two has Kirby Doc, Patrick Laine, Brendan Gallagher, Ivan Demidov, and Noah Dobson. Very comparable to, fairly solid power play lines. I think a lot of teams in the NHL right now would love to have either one of them. Um, I have a few thoughts on that, and a few ideas that I think could be improved because, as we know, we had the 10 power plays in that game against Chicago, and 2 out of 10, that's 20%. Great, we got 2 goals. I just think we could have done better, and it really didn't impress me that much. What are your thoughts before I get into mine?
I agree. I mean, 20%, if my kid brings home 20% math, I'm not too thrilled about that. But it's early days, and if we were tinkering with combinations and Demidov was there, or Doc was there, or Dobson, and you're moving, I could handle the 2 for 10 because you're giving yourself a chance and you're trying to be creative in a way that is different. But we seem to truck out the same 5-man unit. And if you go back and look, I think they averaged power play one. That unit averaged a minute 27 per power play.
Mhm.
So they are getting 75% of the power play time, and you can't expect even the line A's and the docks to come out for 25 or 35 seconds and be productive because you know that regardless of what they do, that other unit comes out and plays the lion's share. So, would I like to see some changes? Sure, absolutely, because it's got to be better. This is a game where we could have blown the barn doors off of the building in Chicago and really made them run for the hills, and taken over. And we just didn't do it. I like to think that was a game of full throttle hockey, one foot on their throat, the other on the gas pedal. 10 power play says you're doing something right. But when you
Mhm.
don't capitalize, that's not it. That just isn't good enough.
Yeah, so and I'm on the same wavelength as you. I think, like you say, the minute 30, like I'm okay if you're going to put that line out for a minute and 30 seconds, but what's the point of spreading it out at that point? Because, like you say, 30 seconds for line two, by the time you take your draw, maybe get possession in the zone, that's 10 seconds eaten up right there. What are you going to do in 20 seconds? Pass the puck around a little bit, get one or two shots. To me, that seems like a waste. However, if that's what you're going to go with, the minute and a half on the power play, I would rather see them load up that first one and take a few more of the spare parts, I guess you would say, on the second one.
Yeah, and I'm the same. I mean, the only other thing, if you're gonna be consistent with line one and line two as your same five personnel, maybe at some point you say in the second period, okay, line two, you're gonna start this unit, and if you get the minute 20, maybe you score.
Mm.
We use that cliche, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, what do we do?
Mhm.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting the results to change. They didn't.
Mhm.
So, I would, we'll talk about what should we do? We have to change something. Is it personnel? It wouldn't hurt at this point. It's early on in the year. Do you give them one or two more games? And if it doesn't improve, then do you make changes? Like you said, we have gifted players. So does a Slavkovsky get moved over to the second unit and you put a Demidov in on line one? Definitely an option. Or do you swap triggermen and put Line A there and move Caulfield down to the other one? It's a fine line of balance between making sure everybody gets their just desserts, and these guys all have bonuses triggered for milestones. So you've got to look at that as an option. I don't know that that's option one for me. Option one for me is how are we gaining entry to the zone? This Let's one guy circle, get to the center line, drop it to the blue line, another guy in behind him, drop it back towards our own net. We've wasted 15 seconds and we've just passed the puck back. So that might have been a strategy. Maybe if I'm not too sure. Maybe it was the Vegas Golden Knights that employed this strategy back in the day, seemed to work. Teams are now stacking three on the blue line and waiting for one guy. Hopefully that guy turns over the puck. And almost every goalie in this league, if it's dumped in, can get it and fire it back down the ice because everybody's held up the blue line. So we've got to do something. I don't know what that is. Is it one guy come and two guys enter the zone skating and the other guy just flips it or through the five hole, put it in the wicket, and hopefully that guy gets it off the boards and can break in. We've got to try something different because we are as predictable as my math mark being under 50%.
Hmm. And we know how you did in biology as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
probably
So
along the same category.
yeah, absolutely. You had both marks together, and I'm an honor roll student, so let's
Yeah.
let's not lose focus here.
Yeah. So yeah, and I would agree. I think part of it is twofold. Again, is it time to hit the panic button? No. I mean, we're only 3 games in. Let's see what happens. But I think what did it for me is when you have 10 power plays, and at one point they had a two-man advantage, and that two-man advantage really did not, you know, my beer league team could handle the puck better, could do better on 5-on-3 than what I seen there. It just didn't impress me. It didn't seem to be a dominant factor the way a 5-on-3 should be. Were they passing the puck around? Yes. Were they moving the puck? Did they get possession and control? Yes. But I just didn't see where they were setting up for them quality chances on shots, whether it be from line A stick or Caulfield or whatever. That just didn't seem to develop. And I don't know why it's not happening. It just seems that you can get possession in the puck in the offensive zone on a power play and pass it around the outside all day long. But if you're not getting quality chances, it's a waste. So
Yeah,
as you
too
say,
many.
is the solution a manpower thing or is it a systems thing? And I think it might be a little bit of both. If you're going to put a minute and a half on one power play, load that one up. And I would like to see a variation of systems on entries instead of the drop pass that you talk about, or where, like you say, that drop pass is coming. Everybody knows it. So you see nine other players lined up across the blue line, and you're trying to find a spot to squeak in there. Now, I mean, it works, but I think when teams start to, get predictable, as you say, the other teams learn to defend against it and make their life a little bit easier when maybe if you change systems, maybe every zone entry shouldn't be that. Maybe you have a dump and chase. Maybe you have a little outlet pass that's right on the blue line to gain that zone, then everybody rushes in and then the pass across to open things up. But it just seems to me it's the same entry every time, and it's at right now it's not working.
It no, it definitely isn't working. And again, we can beat this as much as Chicago beat us on the penalty kill. We
Mhm.
can talk about this over and over and over again. Got to change it up. We got to try something different because if you try it up and it doesn't work, then at least you've tried. And then you come back down the ice a fourth time or the fifth time. Now the defenseman has to figure out are they going to dump it this way or pass it wide? Do they cheat? Then does that open a lane? Because like you said, standing nine guys across the blue line, you might as well go back to the Dr. C.F. Cannon or Lake Vista school days and play Red Rover because you're just asking for some trouble.
Mhm.
Nothing good is going to come of that. So, let's see something different. Let's
Mhm.
try. I mean, we have guys. I mean, maybe Demidov's the guy that needs to be on power play one.
Yeah.
Maybe with his creativity and his shiftiness, maybe he's the guy that comes in late and has enough savvy moves that he can break that line. But what's working now isn't working.
Mhm.
So, the motto should be Montreal Canadiens power play, making penalty killers look good since 2025, because that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would agree. And as far as personnel goes, I think I'm of the same idea as you. Like looking at the power play one right now, I think Slavkovsky could very easily go to the number two, and you bring up Demidov and have him, and I think the advantage you have there is Bolduc is a big enough, heavy enough player. He can be the guy that sits in front of the net and causes the blocking, which gives you more skill on the outside. I tell you one thing I really do like. They had Suzuki down uh, at the goal line beside the net, being that feeder in and out. I thought he excelled there and did that very well. And I think with a slight tweak of that, moving Demidov up, putting Bolduc as the man in front of the net, and Slavkovsky going down onto the second line gives him a little more size where he can be in front of the net there too, and create a little bit of chaos there. But again, I think that's a better solution for me is make that switch. Uh, they're playing that line a minute and a half anyway, so why wouldn't you throw your best assets at it?
Yeah, something's got to give, so um let's see if tomorrow night, home opener against Seattle, let's see if that changes. Maybe it's a case, and something we really you and I talked off air about this, but maybe it's the fact that we're on the road and the other team has the last change. So they see who we send out, they get to defend in the right way. Maybe once we get 4 games on home ice, he can maybe make a change on that and send it a different unit. And then the penalty kill on the other side's like, okay, that's not who I thought was going to be out there. Maybe that's a mind game that we have to get into. Maybe it works because it's a mind game. Maybe it's a personnel, but maybe that's an option as well.
Yeah. Um, uh, so the power play, I'm pretty satisfied with our discussion on that. I think we've pretty much nailed all the topics. I don't know if you want to discuss a little bit on the PK, if you got any thoughts
Yeah,
on
we can talk about PK. It's been effective, right? In the game against Detroit, I know we had and even against Toronto, we had as much shorthanded rushes leading down the ice, creating the edge of your seat excitement than the other team did entering our zone with the power play. So Kapanen is doing well out there. Him and Bolduc seem to have an energy new hook. Again, guys who can skate. Anderson I think Anderson, in his own way, has taken over for the Joel Armia type on the penalty kill. Another big guy that, if he should get the puck in deep, he can protect it. He's a big kid. You're not knocking him off the puck just because you say so. You're gonna have to earn it. So, a big body guy like that who plays on usually PK2 has been an asset. I know this year they put Arbor Jack guy out there, but I don't think we gave up more than two
Mhm.
penalty power plays to Chicago. So that's not getting a ton of work, but power plays are going to score. Maybe not ours, but other teams' power plays are going to score. I'm optimistic that we are making that change accordingly,
Mhm.
and we are adjusting. So not a big surprise.
Yeah. Well, you touched on Arbor Jack. I honestly was surprised to see him on the PK, but I was pleasantly surprised. I think he played well. He was defensive minded. I don't think he did any, no big gaffes, no big glaring errors that would stand out, and make people say, "Oh, well, that guy's just a goon. What do you expect?" I noticed this year into the 3 games, and again, I know we're only 3 games in, he is become a far better player this year than he was last year, and it just seems like every game he's getting better, making smarter decisions, being more responsible, doing what basically I think what St. Louis has been pounding in his head to do to make him the player. And that leads you to another question is, you know, if you want to make that change to get Struble in the lineup, who do you take out? Because I see, you know, the D-men we got in the games now, they're playing well and earning their spots. That's not to say they're not going to make mistakes down the road, but even with that PK performance, I think that sort of cements Arbor into his position a little deeper.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I mean, you need a guy who's willing to be a shot blocker, a tough guy. You have to have one of two things. You have to clear bodies or you have to sacrifice for a puck.
Mhm,
We had Hal Gill years ago, and not that he was a tough guy, but that
mhm.
guy had a wingspan like an albatross, and he would put his body in front of everything. He wasn't the swiftest skater, but he didn't have to be because he
Yeah,
just put his body in front of it anyways.
yeah.
Kid Arbor Jack, I be that guy. Like you said, he's a little bit more polished. He's
Mhm,
keeping the fundamentals of his game within his reach. He's not trying to overstretch his talent level, and he's being rewarded with penalty kill time.
mhm.
So is he the guy to come out? Who knows? I guess when tomorrow lineup notes come out, we'll see if there's a change on home ice. But I'm happy that he's getting his penalty kill time because I think he's earned it.
Yeah. And like I said, overall, I've been impressed with the PK. I haven't really noticed anything glaring as far as, mistakes or things like that. I have noticed that there doesn't seem to be um, any extended uh, defensive zone time where they've been trapped in there and really struggling uh, to maintain the play or to maintain the defensive structure. I think at one point, one of the penalty kills, I think Matheson had a broken stick and he was still right in there as a trooper, doing what he could without a stick, and it still worked out, not too bad, and they survived.
Yeah, and that, I mean, that's half the battle. I mean, Matheson's a swift enough skater that he can cover ice, and
Mhm.
he did what he had to do. They did a bit of a switch off where he played the high man to the point, so there was a guy down in that bumper position on the low box was able to have a stick to cut off those passing lanes. But again, you need the guy like Arbor back there
Mhm.
that's the puck bumbles off in the corner and he says, I'm going in. He knows he's going to be clobbered, but he's strong enough that he can
Mhm.
withstand that. So, bits and pieces, we're getting better, and hopefully that trends well in the right direction.
Yeah. And as a side note, I know we talked earlier, you and I have had many discussions offline and during previous podcast episodes where, you've heard me say about trading away Matheson and and things like that. And I think the two of us are going to be both in a little bit of a we were wrong, but we were right scenario. I was always one that thought, trade away Matheson, he's expendable. After these first 3 games, it's early in the year, yes, but I don't know. He's playing some of the best defense I've seen him play for Montreal since he's been here, which leads to a two-pronged issue. Um, I don't think he's tradable right now, not for the fact that you won't get anything for him. I think, at the rate he's playing now, I think you would get bucket loads for him. But I think Montreal needs him worse now than they need to trade him. And I can't believe I'm saying that.
Yeah, and you're right. And the second part of that two-prong problem is another prong. Is he's a hometown kid.
Mhm,
So, he's well loved and well supported, and he has already been on record in the off season saying that he knows he's on an expiring deal, but he'd be willing to come back at a hometown discount to
mhm,
play here next year. So, what does that mean? Does that
mhm,
mean, instead of his 4.5 or 4.35 or whatever he's getting, is he coming back for 2.5?
mhm,
Hey, it's nice to put another 1.5 million in the bank with the salary cap going up. It means we can add. That's a whole nother question when
mhm,
we start talking about salary caps and contracts and who's where, what, when, where, and how.
mhm,
And we'll do that, 2 or 3 episodes down the road. But right now he's playing good hockey and it's
mhm.
good to see.
Yeah, excellent. For sure. And like you say, I think a lot of the other players see it and feed off of that. Like they're definitely feeding off of each other, and the excitement is growing, and the team mentality is growing, and the going to the wall for your teammate idea is what's growing. Um, Excellent discussion on power play and penalty kill. Do you got any final thoughts on that before we wrap things up?
No, I think at this point, we're trending in the directions that we would like to see. Minor tweaking. I mean, we want things to be perfect. We know that these issues are going to rear its ugly head. And like you said, not panic button mentality yet. We're not part of the blue and white nation.
Mhm,
We do not need to have broken ankles, people. We
mhm,
don't have to jump on and off this bandwagon. Those fairies in Toronto do that enough.
mhm.
They have to get the Austin Matthews pixie dust out to heal all the wounds. So
Mhm.
let's stay the course and let's just be patient.
Yeah, because we'd hate to do the old Larry Murphy, right?
Yeah, we're not booing everybody out of town to go and be stellar elsewhere.
Yeah,
That's
win Stanley Cups in
definitely,
other cities.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely their Toronto mentality. And
Yeah,
and hopefully it's not this year because I hope it's us, but hopefully Mitch Marner gets his cup in Vegas long before Toronto makes the third round.
for
It's
sure, for
probably
sure. That would
probably an
be.
over under in Vegas already on a sports betting line, but
Yeah, and I agree. I think final thought for me on it is again, I don't have a problem with the penalty kill. I think it's been pretty good so far. Again, the power play, I think we're on the same page. I think it's minor tweaks, whether it be personnel or systems, but I don't think that it's a huge, I don't think we need a major overhaul of the system. I think it's just minor things, one or two players shifted here, one or two minor strategies shifted there, and I think we're set.
agreed.
Yeah. So on that note, let's head off to our trivia question, and you're going to have the answer for us.
So we got one, we mentioned it. Zach Bolduc, 3 games, road games straight to start a season with goals. The record is 4, believe it or not. So he could tie a franchise record. It'll have to wait. We have the next 4 games at home, but the next road game, he could stand himself in good company. And we got to go one old guy, one new guy. Throwback to a guy that wore the original Cole Caulfield number 22 and Steve Shutt, and the other guy is Cole Caulfield. So the twos were rampant when these records were set. So kudos to Steve Shutt and Cole Caulfield.
Excellent, excellent trivia. Good answer as always. Excellent insight, Steve. So that's going to conclude today's episode. And I just want to say thanks to everybody watching. I know Steve as well. You've got something you want to say?
Yeah, we see the views, they climb every day. We're greatly appreciated. So, for you guys that are going to become loyal listeners, please like, subscribe, share. But after this episode, go in the comments, drop us a line. Where are you watching from? Let's see how far we can grow Hab Nation and spread this out. I've talked to people on Eastern Canada and Western Canada. I've got some people in the US that I've got listening to it. So drop a line, just tell us where you're listening from. So we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, excellent ideas. Again, as always, thanks, Steve. Thanks to all our viewers and listeners. And always, like Steve said, share us a picture as well. Let us know where you're from. Let's go coast to coast. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment. It helps us with the algorithms. And see you on the next episode. And as like Steve likes to say,
Keep your stick on the ice.